Have you ever wondered what it means to truly awaken? Imagine a man, Milarepa, dissolving into a rainbow of light, leaving a village forever changed. Why does this ancient story still stir our hearts today? In this video, we'll uncover the secrets of his transformation, revealing how the Buddhist teachings can light up your own path, no matter where you start. Curious? Stay with us to discover the light within you. Hit that play button and let's begin. The light that arches skyward. In the high valleys of Tibet, where the wind hums secrets older than the mountains, a man walked with no shadow trailing him. His name was Milarepa, and his steps were light, as if the earth itself hesitated to claim him. The villagers of Drakmar, nestled in a cradle of stone and sky, had heard whispers of his presence long before he arrived. They spoke of a yogi whose voice could tame storms, whose gaze could unravel the knots of a troubled heart. But what they saw that day, as the sun dipped low and painted the peaks in hues of molten gold, was something no tongue could fully capture. And yet, dear reader, let us try. Let us walk with Milarepa, feel the pulse of his journey, and taste the wonder that lingers in the air where he stood. Can you feel it already? That spark of curiosity pulling you closer, urging you to see what unfolds. The village of Drakmar was no stranger to hardship. Its people toiled under the weight of rocky fields, their hands calloused from wrestling barley from unyielding soil. Winters bit deep, and summers offered little reprieve, yet their spirits were tethered to the teachings of the Buddha, passed down through chants and flickering butter lamps. They knew of samsara, the endless wheel of suffering, but they also knew of those rare beings who walked free of its chains, beings like Milarepa, whose name carried the weight of miracles. When he arrived, his tattered robes flapping like prayer flags in the wind, the villagers gathered, their eyes wide with a hunger for something beyond their daily grind. Don't you feel it too, that ache for something greater, something that stirs the soul in whispers of freedom? Stay with me, for this is where the ordinary begins to dissolve. Milarepa stood before them, his face weathered yet luminous, as if the trials of his life had polished him into a mirror for the divine. He spoke of the Dharma, his words simple yet sharp, cutting through the fog of doubt. All things are fleeting, he said, his voice soft as a stream yet unyielding as the cliffs above. But within this fleeting world there is a light that never fades. Seek it not in the stars or the rivers, but in the silence of your own heart. The villagers listened, their breaths slowing, their minds caught in the rhythm of his truth. A child tugged at her mother's sleeve, asking why the man glowed as if lit from within. The mother hushed her, but her own eyes betrayed the same question. Have you ever seen someone whose presence shifts the air, makes the world feel brighter, sharper? You're wondering now, aren't you? What was it about Milarepa that made even the skeptical lean closer? As the day waned, the villagers offered him barley and tea, their humble gifts laid at his feet. Milarepa smiled, not with pride, but with a warmth that seemed to embrace each soul in the crowd. He ate sparingly, his fingers tracing the bowl as if it were a mandala, each bite an act of gratitude. The villagers pressed him to stay, their voices a chorus of longing. "Teacher," said an elder, his beard streaked with gray, "our lives are heavy with toil. Show us a sign that the path you speak of is real." Milarepa's eyes twinkled, as if the elder's words were a key unlocking a hidden door. He rose, his movements fluid, and stepped toward the edge of the village, where the path wound upward into the mountains. The crowd followed, their steps quickening, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Can you feel that pull, that urge to follow where the extraordinary leads? Don't turn away now. The air is about to shimmer. The sun hung low, its rays slicing through the peaks, casting long shadows that danced across the valley. Milarepa paused at a clearing where the earth was bare save for a scattering of wildflowers, their petals trembling in the breeze. The villagers formed a semicircle, their murmurs fading into silence. He turned to them, his gaze sweeping across their faces, and in that moment, each felt seen. Not just as a farmer, a mother, a child, but as a spark of something infinite. "You seek a sign," he said, his voice now carrying a resonance that seemed to echo from the mountains themselves. "But what is a sign if not a mirror for your own awakening? Watch closely and let your heart be the witness." The words hung in the air, heavy with promise, and the villagers leaned forward, their breath held, their eyes locked on the man who seemed to stand at the edge of the world. Are you leaning forward too, wondering what comes next, unable to look away? Then it began. Milarepa raised his hands, palms open to the sky, as if catching the last light of the day. The air around him thickened, not with mist, but with a radiance that defied the senses. His robes, once dull and frayed, began to shimmer, their edges dissolving into threads of color: crimson, gold, azure, emerald. The villagers gasped, their hands clutching one another as the colors swirled, not confined to cloth but spreading across Milarepa's form. His skin glowed, then blurred, as if his very body were unweaving itself into light. The child who had spoken earlier pointed, her voice a squeak of awe. "He's becoming the sky." And indeed he was. The boundaries of his form softened, his outline merging with the horizon, until he stood as a living prism, a cascade of hues that danced like the aurora. Can you see it in your mind's eye, the way the light bends and beckons, pulling you into its embrace? Don't blink. You might miss the moment when the world changes. The villagers stood frozen, their eyes reflecting the impossible. Milarepa's form wavered, then steadied, not as flesh but as a bridge of light arching toward the heavens. Reds bled into violets, golds into greens, each color pulsing with a rhythm that matched the heartbeat of the earth. The wind stilled, as if bowing to the spectacle, and the mountains themselves seemed to lean closer, their peaks witnesses to a truth older than stone. An old woman, her face lined with years of sorrow, fell to her knees, tears streaming as she whispered, "This is the Dharma made visible." Others followed, some kneeling, some standing, all bound by a shared wonder. Milarepa's voice, now a melody woven into the light, spoke once more. "This is not me, but the nature of your own mind. See it, and you see liberation." The words were a spark, igniting something deep within each listener, a longing to touch that light, to know it as their own. Feel that spark in you now, that urge to reach for something beyond the ordinary. Can you resist it? As the light grew brighter, it arced upward, a rainbow born not of rain, but of a man's surrender to the truth. The villagers shielded their eyes, yet they could not look away, for the sight was both blinding and intimate, like staring into the heart of their own dreams. Milarepa's form was no longer distinct, but a radiant expanse that seemed to hold the village, the valley, the sky itself in its embrace. The colors pulsed, then softened, as if inviting the onlookers to step into their flow. A young man, his face alight with courage, took a step forward, his hand outstretched, as if he could touch the edge of eternity. Others followed, their fear melting into awe, their doubts dissolving into the promise of awakening. The rainbow held them, not as a distant vision but as a path, a reminder that the fleeting world could reveal the eternal. And you, dear reader, are you stepping forward too, your heart racing, your soul whispering to keep going, to see where this path leads? The light lingered. A moment stretched beyond time, and the villagers felt something shift within them. The weight of their daily struggles, the ache of loss, the fear of impermanence, all seemed to soften in the glow of Milarepa's transformation. He was not gone, not in the way they feared. His presence was the rainbow was the Dharma, and the Dharma was the mirror of their own boundless nature. As the colors began to fade, sinking into the twilight, the villagers stood in silence, their faces radiant with a new understanding. They had seen a man become light, a body become sky, and in that seeing they glimpsed the possibility of their own liberation. The elder who had asked for a sign wiped his eyes, his voice trembling as he said, "He showed us not a miracle, but ourselves." And in that moment, they knew they could never unsee what they had witnessed. Can you feel it? That quiet fire kindling in your chest, urging you to stay with this story, to see what truths it will reveal next. As the last hues of the rainbow dissolved into the dusk, the villagers turned back to their homes, their steps lighter, their hearts fuller. Milarepa was no longer in the clearing, yet his presence lingered in the air, in the whispers of the wind, in the silent pulse of their own minds. They had seen the fleeting made eternal, the human made divine, and they carried that vision with them, a seed planted deep within. But this is not the end, dear reader. Not for Milarepa, not for the villagers, and not for you. The path winds on, through valleys and peaks, through doubt and wonder, and it calls you to follow. Will you take the next step? Let the light guide you further. Let the story unfold in ways that might just change the way you see the world. Come, let's walk together, for the journey is only beginning, and the rainbow's promise is far from fulfilled. The cave where silence shines. The twilight settled over Drakmar like a soft veil, the mountain standing sentinel as the stars began to pierce the sky. The villagers, still carrying the afterglow of Milarepa's radiant departure, moved slowly toward their homes, their footsteps muffled by the earth's quiet reverence. Yet something lingered in the air, a hum, a vibration, as if the rainbow that had been Milarepa had not vanished but dispersed, scattering its essence into the wind, the stones, the very breath of those who had witnessed it. Their hearts were alight, restless with a question that had no words. What now? What does one do after seeing a man become light? And you, dear reader, can you feel that same question stirring, that spark of wonder that begs you to keep walking this path, to discover what lies beyond the fading hues? In the days that followed, the village was not the same. The barley fields, once a symbol of endless toil, seemed to shimmer with a new vitality, as if the earth itself had been touched by Milarepa's radiance. The villagers went about their tasks, but their movements were softer, their voices gentler. The elder who had asked for a sign, Sering, found himself pausing at the edge of his field, staring at the horizon where the rainbow had arched. His hands, gnarled from years of labor, felt lighter, as if they carried not just soil but possibility. He spoke to his neighbors of Milarepa's words. The light is not outside you, it is your own mind unveiled. The words echoed in their conversations, weaving through their prayers, their dreams. Have you ever felt a truth so piercing it lingers, reshaping the way you see the world? Stay with me, for this truth is about to deepen. Among the villagers was a young woman named Lamo, whose eyes had always held a quiet fire, a restlessness that set her apart. She had stood at the edge of the crowd that day, her heart pounding as Milarepa's form dissolved into light. Unlike the others, she had not knelt or wept. She had watched, her breath shallow, as if afraid to disturb the vision. Now, as the village settled into its new rhythm, Lamo could not settle. She felt a pull, like a thread tugging at her soul, urging her to seek the source of that light. At night, she sat by her small hearth, the flames casting shadows that danced like echoes of the rainbow. She whispered to herself, "If he could become light, what am I capable of?" Can you feel that question burning in you, that restless spark that demands you seek more, know more, become more? Let's follow Lamo, for her journey is a mirror for our own. One morning, as dawn painted the peaks in shades of rose and amber, Lamo slipped from her home, a shawl draped over her shoulders, her steps guided by an instinct she could not name. The path led upward, winding through crags and past streams that sang with the clarity of crystal. She had heard tales of Milarepa's cave, a hidden sanctuary high in the mountains where he had meditated, wrestled with demons, and emerged as a beacon of the Dharma. If the rainbow had been his gift to the village, perhaps the cave held its source, a truth she could touch, a light she could claim. The air grew thinner as she climbed, her breath visible in the chill, yet her heart felt warm, alive with purpose. The path was steep, the stones sharp underfoot, but each step felt like a shedding, a leaving behind of the small self that had once defined her. Don't you know that feeling, when every step forward feels like a step toward something vast, something that calls you to keep going? The cave was not as she had imagined. No grand entrance, no glow of sacred relics, just a hollow in the rock, its edges softened by time, its interior dark yet inviting. Lamo hesitated, her hand resting on the cold stone, her mind flickering with doubt. What if there was nothing here? What if the light was gone, lost to the sky? But then she remembered Milarepa's words, "Seek it in the silence of your own heart." She stepped inside, her eyes adjusting to the dimness, and sat on the bare earth, her back against the wall. The silence was profound, not empty, but full, like the pause between breaths, the space where the world holds its secrets. She closed her eyes, and in that darkness she saw not the cave, but the rainbow, its colors pulsing in her mind, alive, vibrant, as if they had never left. Can you see it too, that inner light that waits in the quiet, begging you to look closer, to stay with it? As Lamo sat, the boundaries of her thoughts began to blur. The cave, the mountain, her own body, they seemed to dissolve, not into nothingness, but into a vastness that held everything. She saw Milarepa, not as a man, but as a presence, his form woven from the same light that had arched over Drakmar. He was there, yet not there, his voice a whisper in her mind. The rainbow is not a thing to hold, but a truth to become. Let go, and you will see. Her heart raced, not with fear, but with recognition. She had always thought liberation was distant, a peak too high to climb, but now she felt it. Close, intimate, as near as her own breath. The colors in her mind grew brighter, swirling, and for a moment she was not Lamo but something more, something boundless. Have you ever felt that edge, where you stand on the brink of your own vastness, afraid to leap yet unable to turn back? Hold that feeling, for it's about to unfold further. Hours passed, or perhaps only moments. Time lost its grip in the cave. Lamo emerged as the sun began its descent, her face calm yet radiant, as if she carried a piece of the rainbow within her. The villagers who had noticed her absence gathered as she descended the path. They saw not the restless girl they knew, but a presence that echoed Milarepa's own. A quiet strength, a light in her eyes that spoke of something seen, something known. Sering, the elder, approached her, his voice soft with awe. "What did you find, child?" Lamo smiled, her words simple yet heavy with truth. "I found that the light is not his alone. It is ours, if we dare to look." The villagers murmured, their hearts stirring again, as if the rainbow had returned, not in the sky but in the woman before them. Can you feel that stir in your own heart? That call to seek, to dare, to find the light within? Don't look away now. The story is weaving you into its truth. Hamo's words spread through Drakmar like ripples on a still lake. The villagers began to sit in silence, not in caves, but in their homes, their fields, their moments of pause. They listened, not for Milarepa's voice, but for their own, for the light that flickered in the spaces between their thoughts. The barley grew, the winds blew, the stars turned in their ancient dance, but something had shifted. The village was no longer just a place of toil. It was a crucible for awakening, a mirror for the Dharma. Hamo, too, was no longer just a villager. She was a spark, a reminder that the path Milarepa walked was not his alone. And yet, the story does not end here, dear reader. The rainbow's light is still moving, still calling, still weaving through the hearts of those who dare to follow. Can you resist its pull, or will you step closer, eager to see where this journey leads next? As the days turned to weeks, Drakmar became a beacon, not of miracles, but of possibility. Travelers began to arrive, drawn by tales of a village touched by light, of a yogi who became a rainbow, of a woman who found its source in a cave. They came seeking signs, but what they found was something deeper. A community alive with the Dharma, each villager a thread in the tapestry of awakening. Lamo, Sering, the child who had seen the sky in Milarepa, they all carried the light, not as a possession, but as a gift, freely given, endlessly shared. And you, standing at the edge of this tale, can you feel that gift calling to you, urging you to carry it forward, to see what lies beyond the horizon? The path is open, the light is near, and the story is far from over. Let's keep walking together toward the promise that waits, the rainbow woven within. The winds of Drakmar carried whispers now, not of a hardship, but of something alive, something that shimmered in the spaces between words. The village had become a living mandala, its people no longer bound by the weight of their toil, but lifted by the memory of a man who became light and a woman who sought its source. Travelers arrived daily, their sandals worn, their eyes bright with questions. They spoke of Milarepa, of the rainbow that had painted the sky, of Ohamo, whose quiet presence seemed to echo the yogi's own. The village hummed with a new rhythm, a pulse that drew seekers like moths to a flame. And you, dear reader, can you feel that hum in your chest, that pull to stay with this story, to see how the light unfolds in its final dance? Let's walk together, one last time, into the heart of Drakmar's awakening. Hamo had not sought to be a teacher, yet the villagers looked to her, their gazes heavy with hope. She moved among them, her words few but weighted, each one a pebble dropped into the still waters of their minds. "The light is not mine," she would say, her voice soft as the dawn. "It is yours, waiting in the silence you fear to enter." The villagers nodded, some understanding, others grasping at the edges of her truth. Sering, the elder, had taken to sitting by the river each morning, his eyes closed, his breath slow, as if listening for the rainbow's echo in the current. The child who had seen Milarepa become the sky, now a bold girl named Pema, followed Lahamo like a shadow, her questions sharp and endless. "If the light is in us," Pema asked one day, her small hands clutching a wildflower, "why don't we all shine like he did?" Lamo smiled, her eyes reflecting the girl's fire. "We do," she said, "but first we must dare to look." Can you hear that dare in your own heart, that quiet challenge to see what shines within you? Don't turn away now, the answer is closer than you think. The seasons turned, the barley ripened, and Drakmar grew into a place of pilgrimage, not for relics or statues, but for the living Dharma that pulsed in its people. Travelers brought stories of Milarepa's life, his trials, his songs, his battles with the demons of his own mind, and each tale added a hue to the village's invisible rainbow. One evening, as the sky burned with the colors of sunset, a stranger arrived, his robes patched, his staff worn smooth by years of wandering. His name was Dorje, a monk from a distant monastery, his eyes deep with the weight of seeking. He had heard of Drakmar's light and come to see it for himself, but his heart carried a shadow, a doubt that gnawed at his faith. "I have studied the sutras," he told Lamo, his voice low, "but I have not seen the light you speak of. Show me, or I cannot believe." Lamo looked at him, not with judgment, but with a compassion that seemed to pierce his defenses. "Come," she said, gesturing to the path that led to Milarepa's cave. "But bring your doubt, it is the doorway." Can you feel that invitation, that call to bring your own questions, your own shadows, and see what they reveal? Let's follow them, for the cave holds more than silence. The climb was steep, the air sharp with the scent of pine and stone. Dorje leaned on his staff, his breath heavy, his mind a tangle of hope and skepticism. Lhamo walked ahead, her steps sure, as if the mountain itself guided her. When they reached the cave, the moon hung low, its silver light spilling across the entrance like a welcome. Dorje hesitated, his doubt a weight heavier than the staff in his hand. "What will I find here?" he asked, his voice betraying a flicker of fear. Lamo turned, her face luminous in the moonlight. "You will find what you bring," she said. "Sit and let the silence show you." Dorje entered, his heart pounding, and sat in the darkness, the cave's stillness wrapping around him like a cloak. Lamo remained outside, her presence a quiet anchor, her breath a rhythm that seemed to steady the world. Have you ever sat in such silence, where the noise of your mind grows loud, then soft, then still? Stay with Dorje, for his journey is yours, and the light is near. In the cave, Dorje's thoughts churned. Memories of sutras memorized, teachers revered, years spent chasing a truth that always slipped away. His doubt rose like a tide, threatening to drown him. But then, in the silence, something shifted. A warmth, faint at first, grew in his chest. Not a vision, but a feeling, as if the cave were breathing with him. He saw no rainbow, no radiant figure, yet he felt it. The same light that had arched over Drakmar, the same truth that had stirred Lamo's heart. It was not outside him, not in the sky or the cave, but within. A spark that had always been there, waiting for him to stop seeking and simply see. Tears fell, not of sorrow, but of release, as his doubt dissolved into a quiet certainty. He emerged at dawn, his face softened, his eyes bright with a light that mirrored Lamo's own. "I saw nothing," he said, his voice trembling with joy, "and yet I saw everything." Can you feel that joy, that moment when the seeking stops and the truth shines clear? It's right there, waiting for you to claim it. Dorje's return to Drakmar was a quiet triumph, his presence a testament to the cave's silent power. The villagers gathered, sensing the change in him, their own hearts lifted by his transformation. Lamo stood among them, not as a leader, but as a mirror, reflecting the light they all carried. Pema, the bold girl, tugged at Dorje's robe, her eyes wide. "Did you become a rainbow too?" she asked. Dorje laughed, a sound like a bell ringing clear. "Not yet," he said, "but I see the colors now." The villagers smiled, their laughter mingling with the wind, and in that moment, Drakmar was not just a village, but a constellation of awakened hearts, each a spark in the endless sky of the Dharma. The rainbow that Milarepa had become was not gone. It lived in Lamo's courage, in Saring's stillness, in Pema's questions, in Dorje's newfound clarity. And it lives in you, dear reader, doesn't it? That spark, that light, that truth you feel stirring even now, can you deny it? As the years passed, Drakmar's story spread, carried by travelers to distant lands, woven into songs and whispered in prayers. The village remained humble, its fields still rocky, its winters still harsh, but its people shone with a quiet radiance, a testament to the light that Milarepa had revealed. Lahamo grew older, her hair streaked with silver, yet her eyes never lost their fire. She taught not with grand words, but with her presence, her silence, her unwavering faith in the light within all beings. Pema grew into a woman, her questions now guiding others, her wildflowers replaced by a mala she turned in her hands. Dorje returned to his monastery, but he carried Drakmar with him, its truth a flame that warmed his teachings. And the cave, that simple hollow in the rock, remained a silent witness, its darkness a cradle for the light that seekers found within. Can you see it? That cycle of seeking and finding, of light shared and multiplied? It's not just their story, it's yours, unfolding with every breath. The rainbow that Milarepa became was not a moment, but a movement, a current that flowed through Drakmar and beyond, touching hearts that dared to look within. It was the Dharma made visible, not in the sky, but in the courage to face the fleeting, to embrace the impermanent, to find the eternal in the now. The villagers, Lamo, Pema, Dorje, they were not special, not chosen, but simply awake, their eyes open to the truth that the light is never far. And you, standing at the edge of this tale, can you feel it too? The rainbow is not gone. It arches within you, its colors waiting to be seen, its promise waiting to be lived. The story ends here, but the journey does not. Take it with you, this spark, this light, this truth, and let it guide you wherever you go. Will you carry it, dear reader, and see where it leads?